It was the familiar combinations that made the early running. Well, that's not strictly true, actually, as the early leader Frank Maher, last year's winner and the current tarmac champion, in his Ireland Assist Escort Cosworth, had a new co-driver in Bernard Smith. Frank was 2 seconds up on his nearest rival after the first test, and that rival was James Cullen, incidentally, not Bertie Fisher. James, apart from his indoor antics in the Autosport show, had not been in a rally car since June, but as always, the talented Donegal driver was right on the pace from the start. He posted second fastest times in the first 3 stages, and by the end of the loop, the Tony Kelly car's Escort was firmly ensconced in second place. But second is never enough for James. Eamon Boland in the Hertz Escort also had a new co-driver in Damien Morrissey, and the combination was working well. The Wexford driver was in 7th place on equal time with O'Callaghan. Now for the less happy. Pater Herson in Eamon's old car is finding left-hand drive in a 7-speed gearbox quite a handful. And here, I'm afraid, is another tale of woe. Stephen Murphy and Mickey Morrissey have been off the road on the very first stage and lost 2 minutes. Galway has never been a particularly lucky place for the new national rally champion, and this little setback is rather upsetting Mickey's hopes of having 2 family members in the top 5. You see, Eamon Boland's navigator is Mickey's son. Things were not to go much further for Gabriel Snow and Paul McLaughlin. Their Sierra's engine was about to expire. Sean Blake's Escort was in all kinds of shapes, as Billy Gamble discovered.
That opposition was led by Donal Bones and Noel Carey, who opposite locked their Black Lion Escort to 3rd in the category.
And as in Donegal, the challenge was coming from the Four Lanterns Escort. James Cullen took 3 fastest times to Bertie's 1 on the soaking evening stages. Sunday was going to be extremely interesting. Eamon Boland was also in this 3rd place battle. Only 43 seconds separated O'Callaghan, Greer and the Wexford driver. The Statoil Escort was moving in the other direction, and by the end of the day, Stephen had splashed his way back up to 7th place. But poor Frank was in misery. He'd slipped from 1st to 10th by the end of the day due to turbo problems. And as Brian Malone's camera shows us, he was about to have some pretty giddy moments. And I'm not kidding. Now for the 2 Escort Cosworths, Eamon Boland on top and Stephen Murphy below. A little bit over-exuberant Boland at the moment. Neatness almost paying off. Once again, the braking into this hairpin is very important, and Eamon Boland just about goes ahead. But once again, by the end of the stage, another tie. The Sunday stages in Galway have a history of producing surprises. Remember Liam O'Callaghan in 1994? Well, 1996 would not be much different. That's McCartan McCaig into the wall. We're on stage 14, but amazingly the Dublin driver will continue to take 2nd in his class. Paul Gaffney's amateur camera gets it from another angle.
Dramatic stuff, and it was this Coldwood test that proved to be the pivotal point of the event on the competitor's first run. Second is not in Cullen's portfolio. The drifter's car's on a knife edge, but will sadly slip off before the end of the stage.
It's quite muddy. The car started to understeer a little bit and went up a bank, but it came back down off it again. It wasn't a real problem. But I think because of the pace of the rally and you were there to have the attack, instead of letting it come out of the muck and find the tarmac and going again, like I just pulled another gear on it while it was still in the mud and went about another 10 yards up through the muddy bit, and I just had to have a big rock in the middle of that, you know. One of them things, if you're going to try, you have to have a go. That's it.
Stephen Murphy continues to move up the field in the Statoil Escort as the Carlow driver catches the ailing Toyota on the stage. By the time Ian gets to our camera point, you can see the full extent of the damage. And the Tipperary driver had to leave the road to avoid a rock dislodged by another competitor. Martin Ward and Linda Conroy brought honour to Galway and Loughrea by being the top local. Stephen Murphy and Mickey Morrissey had the recovery drive of the event. Despite this spin, they made it back to fifth after that early disaster on the very first stage when they dropped 2 minutes.
And there was great joy in the Bolden family with a fine fourth place. Indeed, it would have been third, but for one mere second. And even bigger celebrations in the Morrissey family, with father in fifth place and son Damien in fourth. Finished almost 4 minutes ahead of the rest, and as in Donegal, James and Ella Morgan gave Fisher a lot to think about.